Greg, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
No, cheers. Probably worth noting, actually, wearing the branded T-shirt today, complimentary of obviously yourself.
Yeah, thought if I brought you some t-shirts, you might be nice to me. Yeah.
Yeah, no, thanks for that. And yeah, I guess I like to start things off by just understanding, where it all started for yourself. And I guess, when did you realize you were going to be, let's say, a major business leader? And where were you at in life at that point?
So the journey with eCom started September 2015.
Yeah.
We started off in my garage. I'd always worked for myself all the way through after school and university. I'd always worked for myself. I was a self-employed bailiff, believe it or not, for about 5 years. And then I had Cash Generator franchise.
Yeah.
And I always worked for myself, and that's something that I always wanted to do. And then 2015, the opportunity came around to start the eCom here in the UK. At the time, it was a franchise over in Australia. Something very close to my heart, something that we'd always been in and around, whether it's school, university, community clubs, always been around clothing, etc., and really taken a keen interest in it. So when the opportunity came, we jumped at it. It was difficult. I think we started off in my garage. So we were in my garage for 15 months.
Yeah.
We got snowed in once. I think we got poisoned once from the patio heater. So it was all good fun along the way. But yeah, combining the two things of always wanting to work for myself and not always wanting to be in charge of my own destiny, and combining that with my love of the teamwear and knowing the trials and tribulations, whether it's at school, university, clubs, going, being the person that was responsible for getting that kit, and at times how difficult that process was.
Yeah.
And a bit potluck, a bit lottery as to how successful you were with it. So, combining those elements when this opportunity came around, then yeah, we jumped at it.
And I guess, did you come from like an entrepreneur household? Were your mum, dad entrepreneurs, or?
Yeah, my dad was to some extent. He actually worked for Reebok for a long time, but they had the franchise when Reebok first came into the UK. His company bought the franchise and the rights for that, and they supplied to stores. So yeah, definitely, I think there was a large part of that. My father unfortunately passed away when I was 18.
Right.
But I think that element was already instilled within me, and a keen interest in what he was doing, with the Reebok, the Rockport brand and things like that. So yeah, it was definitely instilled as a young age, I think, yeah.
All right. Well, you'd probably be impressed with what you've got going on.
I'd like to think, yeah. Hopefully.
Oh, mega.
He was a very hard man to impress, to be fair, but yeah, hopefully.
Yeah, nice. And I guess just to get a bit of a gauge as to where Icon is now, just quick fire, turnover, headcount, almost company profile, what that looks like.
Yeah, we're turning over 1.5 million.
Yeah.
We're down to 10 staff at the moment. We have been up as high as 15.
Yeah.
We're at 10 staff at the moment. The majority of our work, we do go as far afield as we've customers in Bermuda and all over the world, but in reality, 90% of our business is in the northwest of England.
Got you.
And that's something that future plans to try and spread our wings a little. But yeah, at the moment, that's where we're at.
Interesting. And how much of it would you say is B2C, selling direct to consumer, and how much is it more through partnerships and?
The vast majority is B2C. That's who we deal with. The vast majority, and that the end user, it may be a community sports club, but then we have another end user in that rather than the club having to collate orders and purchase, and they'll come through us. We then allow their customers, their 100 customers, to go on our website and purchase. So you could, in essence, say a bit of it is B2B, but in reality, the end user is the sports club, is the school, is the university, is the organisation, if it's workwear stuff, and then they just allow their employees or their supporters or their members to purchase as well, and that's where we try and make that process as easy for them as possible.
Got you. And in terms of the growth side and the scaling of the business, is there you say majority is in the northwest? Like what's your sort of plan for growing and scaling?
Really interesting one in that in reality over the past 3 years we've probably stalled.
Yeah.
To the extent where we had growth aspirations, but we probably went after it in the wrong way. I say we got up to 15 staff, and in reality, the turnover never went up.
Yeah.
We're back down to 10 staff now. Turnover is slightly up, so you can imagine having lost 5 overheads, the profit's well up. So that's now putting us back in the position where we can refocus and look at it again. But I think in reality, we went around it the wrong way. There was probably a thought process of, just more salespeople, more people in the office. That'll do the job, and we'll go from there. And it was probably the wrong approach, in hindsight. But you learn these things as you go. So there's a refocus. I think we've streamlined slightly. We're really concentrating on doing what we do and doing it well, rather than trying to be too many things to too many different people.
Yeah.
So I think we're nearly there now. So I think looking at the back end of 26, going into 27, I think we can again look at trying to spread our wings a little.
Yeah, got you. And you mentioned you were born through a franchise. How big is the eCom franchise in terms of footprint? How many other franchises?
Yeah, so the original eCom started over in Australia. There was, at its peak over there, I think 15 different franchises over there. We were with those guys for about 5 years. The first 5 years after that, we cut away from those guys, so we were completely independent in the UK. We do have, or at times we've had an office over in North Wales. We've got a presence over there.
All right.
And I think this is something that we'll be picking back up in trying to get a presence in more areas, whether that be down south, Birmingham, Midlands, up in Scotland, wherever it may be. But I think that's the key to our future growth is getting boots on the field there, because the way we like to do business and the way we do it, I feel a lot of our industry, people buy from people.
Yeah.
And just the nature of the bespoke clothing that we do, it's quite a hands-on experience.
Yeah.
And I think having people on the ground there is probably most important. We're by no means thinking that we've conquered the Northwest market. We've got a small slice of that, but for us to grow, I think that is the key to to get the right people in the right areas.
And go on, who's some high profile people that have either worn the brand or
so through the cricket we do have equipment wise, cricket's the only sport where we'll do equipment as well. The rest of it is just teamwear,
right?
But we've had the likes of Richard Gleeson, who's played for England, Ricky Vessels at the time at Nott, so we've had some fairly high profile cricketers use the equipment. We've kind of pulled back from that as well. There's a lot of, I won't bore you with it, but there's a lot of issues around PPE and safety requirements with cricket equipment at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's an uncertain market, but in reality for us, it was always, as a smaller supplier, it was always really difficult to tell if it was money well spent or not.
Yeah.
Because it was great to see someone batting on TV using one of your cricket bats and the branding's there, but what did it equate to? What bottom line did it give us? We're not one of the big cricket brands who are going to go and sell 1,000 kids' bats on the back of that. So
yeah,
it was always difficult for us to know. And I think that's one of the things that in reality we are streamlining, that we have streamlined this year, the equipment offering. The back down to the real basics that we offer.
Yeah.
Longer term, whether we're still going to continue doing it, I don't know. I think there's a real concentration on, look, do what we do well, and that's bespoke clothing. So, really concentrate on that.
Yeah. And I guess just reading into it then, your route to market would be just put an office or location regionally to grow it.
Yeah, and that worked. We had success in North Wales in doing that, but again, it's important to have the footprint in that area. It's important. It's a big thing we do based here. We're based in Rochdale, in the north of Manchester, and I think integrating with your community in the Northwest, really does make a difference. Do a lot of charity work with the local hospice, people like that, and really integrating into that community and being part of that community, you get a lot of goodwill back from that and a lot of business back from that. So I think we need to replicate that model, and I think it's easy to find an office and to do out a nice showroom and put your samples in, but it's about the person and the people that will be there and that will be your representative in that area. So I think that's the key, finding the right people, which I'm sure anyone who's in recruitment will tell you that. But it's someone who not necessarily is an amazing salesperson. The sales team we've got at the moment, I don't think they'll mind me saying, none of them were salespeople when they started with us. It's just about, you need to know your product, obviously, to be able to sell it, but it's about, the connections in the local area. It's about having that gravitas and that authority behind you, whether an ex-cricket player is people we've employed before, for example. But yeah, I think the right people for us is really the key going forward.
Got you. Yeah. And it's it's interesting. Like I speak to other business owners. It's almost like sanity over vanity. Sometimes it's, you can go and hire people and you can go and look as though you're growing, but yeah, the stress, almost the stress of it and deciding, is that actually bringing you the return?
Not exactly that, and I think it probably was a bit of vanity. As getting up to 15 staff, and the turnover just wasn't there to merit it.
Yeah.
So and it's easy to get carried away with it. It really is. If you sat in the business and you're not pulling yourself away from that business and having a look from the outside, it is easy just to get carried away on a wave and think, well, if that salesperson does 200 grand, then we bring 3 of them in, we'll do 600 grand. It really, is probably a really basic thought process that really didn't work. So definitely, and I think the trap we probably fell into was that, we made, from year 1, we doubled turnover. Year 2, we doubled. Year 3, we doubled. Year 4, we doubled. Year 5, we doubled. So very quickly, we were doing well, and we always made money. And a lot of that money we invested into our new unit. We've got a 10,000 square foot retail unit. That was bespoke. We completely made it how we wanted it, and a lot of the funds we'd gathered over those years went into that project, and it left us a bit cash short. So at times, with the extra staff, it was, you've really got to be careful with the, too many mouths to feed for what we were bringing in. So it was a real refocus in the last 12 to 18 months about getting back to the basics and starting again.
And do you think, like, obviously we've been through that period of COVID. Did that have, like, what kind of effect did that have on the business?
It had an effect. It wasn't normal, but we did okay out of it. In reality, we had to pivot. We started I think we sold 170,000 sublimated face masks. So every sports organisation going, rather than wearing a cheap face mask, we were making one with their colours, their designs. We did bits in the PPE market. So there was a bit of a shift and a repivot. The local council, Rochdale Council, and the area there, and the Greater Manchester Combined Authorities were brilliant, and the support we got through those guys. So we did manage to get through it pretty unscathed, to be fair, which was good.
In terms of leadership, where do you think you've had, I guess, your biggest successes in terms of managing people, and then I guess where would you say you've had, I guess the struggles, or you might have done things differently?
Yeah, I think the biggest learning curve I've had personally over the years is that it's probably not acting quickly enough, not acting swiftly enough. Nowadays, if we take a new employee in and after a month there's reservations still, then we draw the line.
Yeah.
There were some employees who we kept on for months and years in cases, and and they just weren't working, and it was probably me being too soft, and trying to give people chance after chance after chance. But in reality, there was definitely an area where I wasn't ruthless enough. And I think that's something that hasn't come easy to me, to try and develop that, but it's something we're now much better at, and saying, right, this isn't working, it's not working for us, not working for you, and off we go in our separate ways. So I think that's been a big learning curve. I'd like to think, I say we've been going over 10 years now. We've one employee been with us 8 years, one been with us 7, one been with us 6, one been with us 5. So,
Yeah.
We don't have a great deal of staff retention. The staff retention is very good. We don't have a great deal of change. So it's probably in that period where we tried to bring too many on too quickly that we faltered a little bit. So I think more of a clear plan as to bringing these people on is probably the way forward.
Yeah. And where do you think you're strong on leadership? What would you say your strength would be?
I'd like to see, and I speak to the staff a lot, and we talk about having trust within the staff, and it's elements that we've had before with leaders within the organisation where they may have talked about it, but the trust wasn't there.
Yeah.
If we're having to reporting daily of what you've done, or yes, you can work from home, but I'm going to phone you 3 times on Teams, and you've got to have your camera on to make sure you're there. That isn't trusting your employees. So I think the staff now really appreciate the trust that I have in them. And that ability to let them go and do their job, and I will trust them to do it. And I don't want to know where you are. I don't want to know why you're not in the office. If you're not in the office, just go and do that. So I think there's the trust that has been built up, and I think alongside honesty, we've been really honest with the team, and especially when 18 months ago when we were facing some difficulties, just being really honest with the team, and we'll sit there and once a month we'll put the sales out there, and we'll put the targets out there, and the bonuses up there for everyone to see. So that transparency and that honesty, I think is something that I believe the staff really appreciate.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think when you say you sit out in your garage, it's, I know there'll be people that probably are thinking about doing something, or they might be, they might be aspiring to do something similar to yourself. So what would you say that the critical things are, looking back, when you first set out? Almost like what's the signal, and what would you have to ignore as noise to get to where you got to?
My advice would be always give it a go, because what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying go and throw 6 figures at a franchise and give it a go or anything like that. But if you've got an idea, give it a go. What's the worst that can happen? Save up for a small amount of time and give it a go. Because if it fails, it fails. And in reality, you'll learn more from them failings anyway to make you a better person if you do have to go back into what I'd call the real world. The thing is, you've got to be really comfortable, and we were really, I wouldn't say lucky, but we were fortunate with our supply chain, and I think that's the biggest thing. Whatever you're selling, you've got to be really, really comfortable with it. You've got to have full trust and full belief in what you're selling. If you haven't got that, someone will see straight through it. So regardless of what you're selling, whether you're selling your service, whether you're selling a product, you've got to be really that's the word I'm looking for. You've got to be 100% committed to it, and you've got to believe in it. I think you've got to have absolute belief. And I know, I say we're 10 years, 6 months old, and I know I can go into any kit tender and my products will be as good, and if not better, than anyone else on that table. And you've got to have that full belief in it. I say we're fortunate. Obviously, we did the research, but we got our supplier, and we've grown with them. But normally, it might take you 2 or 3 different goes at doing that. But we got lucky first time. But once you've got that, I think that's the biggest thing. If you're gonna do, you've got to 100% commit.
Yeah,
you can't be half in, half out. It just doesn't work. You've got to give it 100%.
And what about like the actual mechanics of setting up? Because I know you said like it's visual, right? Like you said you're in your garage. Like what? It looks completely different now. But like, what would you say the thing you really focused on to make sure it was going to be successful? Was it more sales, but then you just had everything going on in the back garden, or in the garage? Sorry, or was it was it marketing? What was your?
I would say sales was the most important thing, because if you're not getting them sales, you're not going to stay open very long. And the rest we learned as we went along.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer that old phrase that if you're the cleverest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. So there's lots of things I probably still know next to nothing about marketing, but it's not my job to know about it. So I'm quite happy saying that. So you can pick the rest up as you go along. I think, like I said before, if you've got that product or if it's a service, as long as you're 100% behind it and you can persuade other people to get behind it, that's all you need. So for us, it was, well, you just get the sales. Get the sales in, we'll put the rest together. It was probably somewhere between we got to 10 employees before we had proper HR policies. It was all just, we'll come across that. We're busy selling at the moment. But you've got to do that. You've got to get the money behind you to be able to grow. So I think selling is the most important thing. The website, the marketing, the social media, everything will come along, and I think you've got to have that element of, and it might be that you've got a really good product and you're no good at sales. Get someone who can sell it for you. That's absolutely fine. If you're really good at the other stuff, do that. But someone somewhere along the line's got to be selling it.
Yeah, I hear you. And what would you measure like good sales performance against? What would you typically? Is it number of appointments? Is it just the website actual sales of the product?
Yeah, I mean, ours is it's a funny business in that, in reality, paid advertising, I think in 10.5 years, I think we've spent £1,200.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so a lot of our work comes from referrals, word of mouth, and quite a lot of it comes from organic leads off the website, so just from our social medias. So obviously we look at the metrics of seeing how many of those are being converted. But in reality, we provide a good service at a good price, we sell it, we move on to the next. Our biggest challenge is now getting from the community sports club world into the semi-pro world, and that's our next big challenge, and that's where we're a bit different. That's in the world of tenders, that's in the world of corporate governance and compliance and things like that. So that's probably our next biggest challenge, to try and move into that sphere. And it's somewhere where I think the last 4 big tenders we've entered, we've got down to the last 2 in all of them, but we haven't got one. And it's a bit chicken and egg, because the feedback we get is, oh, well, you just haven't got that big club experience, which we're not going to get unless someone gives us one. But yeah, that's the best, the next best thing for us. But yeah, regards sales, but I say we've never done cold calling, with very little paid advertising. So there isn't that much of looking at conversion rates and things like that. It's just about looking at, and we've got those monthly targets, and the monthly targets are there from looking at what we've done previous years and looking at our best ever years and looking at where that was and what time of year. So we more work off that than anything else. Yeah.
So I know you mentioned earlier that there's about 10,000 items going out per month. And looking at the operational side of the business, like, how important is the logistics side of the proposition, I guess, in what you...
Yeah, so I mean, we have 2 different sides to the business. We have, simply put, workwear and sportswear. The workwear is all UK suppliers. So we'll buy off suppliers, next day delivery, and we just decorate the garments. The garment's already made. We'll just decorate it. We'll print on your T-shirt. It'll be ready within 7 to 10 days. A lot of that, we're relying on the system coming to us, because we need those garments next day to give us a few days to prepare the logos, print them, embroider them, whatever it may be. The other side of the business, our factory is actually based abroad. Our factory is based over in Pakistan.
Right.
So again, due to the nature, we haven't time to be air shipping anything. So everything we do is air freight. So again, at times I'm still wowed. I think last week we had something set off on a Tuesday night, and it was with us Thursday morning. Wow. From Pakistan via all sorts of Bahrain and Frankfurt and all over the place. So it's a wonderful network. But then once we get it, we do have a small percentage of customers that will collect from us, because like we said, a lot of the business is local, but a lot of it is posted out there. and again, something that we've worked on recently is getting everything linked up with the API and making things a lot quicker for us to be able to put the parcels on. And it works really well. We have a couple of different suppliers that we use, one for smaller, cheaper parcels, one for larger parcels, and it really is I'm still amazed at times how good the system is, to go from one end of the country to the other, charging you £2.50 or whatever it is. It's, with no complaints, and we use some couriers that may have a bad reputation out there, but we're seeing that it's 99.6% completion rate, and it's but
go on. I'm going to ask.
So we use a couple of different ones, but Every's one where we'll send our smaller, cheaper parcels.
Yeah.
Probably up to 2 or 3 items, because anything above that, you're probably looking over £100 worth of stuff. So it gets to the point where we're not. But when Every rebranded, I see so little problems with them now compared to what it used to be. It's
I've heard the same, and I think they're in a really positive place at the minute. And they've just merged with DHL eCom not too long ago. So yeah, it's interesting feedback, to be fair. Because I was going to ask an ugly question, which was going to be, has there been any like logistic nightmares that you've sort of experienced or had?
We once had 15 boxes sent to us that were meant to go to Bermuda. So that was a bit of a nightmare trying to trying to reroute that one. But it ended up arriving with us anyway, and we just had to resend it. But not too bad, to be honest. It's fairly basic stuff we do, and the guys do it well. And I said that nowadays with our API, we press a couple of buttons, a sticker comes out, the customer gets sent the tracking reference automated. Everything, it is, it's not something they know a great deal about, but the other courier we use is APC for larger parcels. And,
okay.
They've been really good as well. Rochdale, they have a depot in Rochdale, a base there, and again, the reason why we'll send the more valuable parcel with them is because we can speak to someone.
Yeah.
You can actually pick the phone up and have a conversation, and someone will do the tracking and someone will look at it, whereas the Every, you are just at a bit of a...
in there.
I hope it arrives. But
mix.
I say the vast majority does, so we've got no real complaints when it comes to that.
Well, sounds like you've got the the supply chain side down. I guess, you've been going for just over 10 years. What sort of trials and tribulations have you sort of come across?
Yeah, there's been a lot, to be fair. It's I wouldn't describe it as a roller coaster ride, but when you own the business, you live and breathe it. It is your life, and at times probably too much, probably to a detrimental effect. So there is that, learning that ability to switch off when you need to. There was elements of, I think something that was really important to me was the culture within the business.
Yeah.
And I think at times with people within the business, that culture wasn't there. And it was that, the worst thing to be coming in and seeing staff unhappy.
Yeah.
And I think we can see now, like I said before, with 50% less staff and still doing the same numbers, if not better, that it really does make a difference to people. And you can see from the majority of staff that I mentioned have been with us a long time. So I think there was issues within the culture of the business, which have now been resolved. I think, and I'll take as much responsibility as anyone for that. There was situations where myself, there's a lot of friction within the office, and at times you don't realise the effect that has on other people. You're just considering how it's affected you, or it's how it's affected the other person, and not affected the other 10 people that have had to listen to it. So I think that was a huge thing for me within the last 12 months was getting the culture right, and coming in at the moment. As I said, I talked before about our 10,000 square foot unit. I'd love to have you come down if you're ever going from Manchester towards Leeds way, jump off halfway and come and see us. But we've areas of the it's an old big warehouse, and we've kept areas of the brick wall exposed.
Right.
But we had to go and seal them. Every brick wall in that place you can see, I have myself sealed and painted.
Yeah.
I ran over myself with the scissor lift at the same time and couldn't walk for a week. I live and breathe that business to that extent, and coming into that business and seeing, and having staff tell you how unhappy they are, and realizing some of that is your fault.
Yeah.
I think that was a huge thing for us, and we're in such a better space now. So I think that's a big thing that either way, somewhere in the business, the conflict must be removed.
Yeah.
And if that's one or two people or three people have to leave, then it's heartbreaking, but that's what needs to happen. So it's a funny one when it's your own business. A lot of I've been asked recently, what's your exit plan? And I don't have an exit plan. I love the business. I love going in. I genuinely get up every morning and love going into work. And I don't see a life where I don't pass this business down to my kids and so on. But I suppose on that basis is about, if you've got shared ownership or direct, it's about life's much easier if you're on the same level.
There's alignment.
You've got the same plans and the same alignment between you both. If you haven't, it's going to cause problems somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's something I've learned. As I say, I won't put any blame on that to anyone. It's as much my doing as anything. But if you're going to go into business, then you got to make sure that you're with someone or with a group of people. Make sure that you're fully aligned.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you end up compromising yourself.
Yeah,
and that's not a good place to be in. And everyone has to compromise.
Yeah,
and no one wins.
Yeah, no, and it's worth probably mentioning because for the audience, it's you went through a buyout, didn't you? Like for one of the directors.
Yeah, so there was two major shareholders. I was one of them. My business partner who started the business with me, and full credit to him, put a hell of a lot into the business over the first 8-9 years of the business. But we both agreed between us that one of us had to leave for the good of the business.
Yeah.
Turned out myself being the one that stayed. But if Tribulations, I'm sure he's much happier. I actually saw him this morning. I'm sure he's much happier now than he was 12 months ago. And I know I am, but more importantly, the health of the business is much better, and the staff within the business are much happier, which really does make a difference. A friend of mine was joking the other day, said, "Oh, you're one of them bosses, aren't you? You never give anyone a pay rise, but you're buying pizza on a Friday." And but it really does, make a difference. We'll go days out, and just having that happy staff really does make a difference. It isn't a cliche. It isn't, something. Don't get me wrong. You're not going to get away with not paying them properly, but it is a real testament this last 12 months to see what difference a happy workforce can have. Yeah.
No, it's I can relate. I went through a buyout last year myself with business partner. So it's interesting. And I guess into sort of looking at technology, does that play much part in your business? Is there anything going on around tech?
Yes, 100%. I was at Hotwood Hall College this morning with the guys from Manchester Met University and looking at how you implement AI into your business, etc. I think it's got to do. To the extent where AI is probably already there and people aren't realising. So my bookkeeper's just been off for the last 2 weeks. So I've had to start doing the bookkeeping for 2 weeks, which I used to do years ago, but I've not done it for ages. And I've gone back into zero, and I've actually noticed that rather than typing all the invoices in, I can just throw the invoice in there and it does it for you.
Yeah.
So actually AI is probably here, and it's probably people using it without realizing, because AI just sounds like a scary word that tech people use.
Yeah.
But it is going to play a massive part. So I'm doing this project at the moment with Manchester Met Uni and looking at size guides and body scans, because at the end of the day we make bespoke clothing. So it's very important that people buy it, get the right size.
Yeah.
Because there is a certain lead time associated with bespoke clothing. We work on a 5 to 6 week turnaround. It's never any longer, but that's what we work on. So if someone's waited 5 to 6 weeks for that garment, they don't want it arriving and not fitting.
Yeah.
And that's one of our biggest challenges, and that's where we're hoping that technology can come in and really help us with that. So that's an interesting project we've got going on, and it is great to see again. Greater Manchester Growth Hub and all these projects, and there is so much funding out there and support out there to go and spend time with these, experts and the universities, and it really is amazing to see the help that's out there. So yeah, really looking forward to embracing that.
It's a big thing. I think it's a big shift for everyone, isn't it? Seeing where they can, input AI into the business. But outside of AI and looking at partnerships, have you got any strategic partners that you would say, these guys help us in X, Y, Z area of the business?
We have people who help with our ERP system and things like that. So I think at the moment, that's probably the only place where we're looking to develop and grow is through our ERP system, and we've designing our own bespoke CRM systems, so getting them to talk to each other, which should allow us to improve on our marketing, our email shots. But a lot of the stuff at the moment is just 3 or 4 separate systems with the website and the Magento-based platform and Klaviyo. And we've got a lot of different things all working separately. So I think at the moment it's about trying to pull that all into one system that we can just use rather than trying to use 3 or 4 different systems. And I think that'll give a bit more clarity especially to the sales team. The ERP system looks after the production, the logos, everything like that. That's not an issue, but more from a sales and marketing point of view is trying to pull them 3 or 4 different services together and get them working as just one.
Got ya. Well, I'm going to finish off with some short, sharp, trivial questions. If you had to start all over again, what's the one thing you would do differently?
Do you know what? I genuinely, I don't think there is much I'd change, because the failings that we had and the things we got wrong, genuinely did make us better in the long run. Yeah. So I'm not a big believer in looking backwards and wishing we'd have done this, that, or the other. So I don't think there's much would change, to be honest. Probably had a bit more of control from the outset with our own brand. We went in initially as a franchise and we were limited to what we can do. So, probably having that a bit more belief. Other than that, I probably just wish I'd have started in the clothing game a bit earlier.
A bit sooner. Nice. Yeah. Is there a club at the minute or team that you'd want to get into right now? If so, who?
There's lots of stuff we'd love to be doing. I know one on the horizon. We obviously, as mentioned, I'm a proud Rochdale lad, and we do the local professional rugby club in Rochdale Hornets, who are a week tomorrow playing Wigan Warriors, the current world champions in the 3rd round of the cup. So that's going to be an amazing day for us going out there, and again, that's a club I've supported all my life. My dad was chairman back many years ago, so going out there and seeing the current world champions playing against someone in our kit, it's going to be a hell of a proud moment. So I'd probably like to replicate that with the football team. I know we tendered last time for the football team. Currently flying high at the top of non-league of Rochdale, so I'd love to combine them getting back into the football league and wearing an Icon kit, I suppose.
Love that.
I won't give you an answer like a Premier League team, because that comes with its own challenges of I'm not quite sure we've got the infrastructure at present to deal with that, whereas so I'll give you a more realistic answer.
No, love that. I love that. And then last one, if you had to put a sports figure to represent Icon in terms of being a brand ambassador, who would it be and why?
It's funny. I was out on Saturday. We went to Cheltenham races and long train journey back 2.5 hours, and we were all discussing our sporting heroes, and there was some wild and varied answers, and it was interesting to see what people they weren't necessarily saying that was the best sportsman that they'd ever seen, but it was their hero and what it means to them. So who would I say? I mean, my sporting hero growing up was always Freddie Flintoff for being a keen cricketer. I have managed to somehow blag him into some Icon gear before. We've done a couple of charity things for him. So, I'd like to think that he embodies kind of what Icon's about. We're that bit of northern grit and a smile on your face and
resilience,
but that edge of real quality as well.
Yeah, love that. Well, Greg, thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll have to come see the site.
Yes, definitely. You have to get yourself down, get some more merch, and no, thank you for having me. I saw on the when you invited me on, obviously started looking at your previous guests, and they were all quite high profile, so I wasn't quite sure what you wanted from me. So I just hope that I've managed to give you something. But thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it.
It's been really good. Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you.